Tracking headlines, President Moise revokes the directive to discontinue non-contributory retirement benefits which was set to take effect on January 1st. The President approves the comprehensive plan to expand work opportunities for inmates, both within prison facilities and in the community. And the government proposes a bill to establish the Attorney General's office as a separate entity outside the Civil Service Commission. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Hutma Mahmoud. Looking into the details, President Dr. Mohamed Moise revokes the directive to discontinue non-contributory retirement benefits, which was set to take effect on January 1st as part of the government's economic reform agenda. The decision made during the cabinet meeting on December 1st follows a paper presented by the President. In response to concerns raised by various sectors regarding the changes to retirement pensions, the President decided to withdraw the Ministry of Finance's letter to relevant institutions, acknowledging the public's feedback on the reduction of such retirement allowances at this time. It also determined that the retirement pension process for those transitioning to the new pay structure will remain unchanged until all individuals have fully transitioned into the new system. President Dr. Mohamed Moise approves a comprehensive plan to expand work opportunities for inmates both within the prison facilities and in the community. Under this new framework, individuals who complete rehabilitation programs in accordance with guidelines set by the Ministry of Homeland Security and Technology and the Maldives Correctional Service will be eligible for sentence reductions and pardons through a systematic structure. The decision was made following deliberations during the cabinet meeting on December 1st after reviewing a paper from the Ministry of Homeland Security and Technology. Based on the recommendations presented and the Cabinet's advice, the President has authorized several key reforms. These include the introduction of a new rehabilitation framework, adjustments to enhance employment prospects for inmates inside and outside prisons, and the integration of the rehabilitation process with mechanisms for pardons, parole, and sentence reduction. The plan also includes an expansion of community service initiatives. To ensure effective implementation, relevant government agencies have been assigned specific responsibilities with clear timelines for achieving and monitoring key objectives. The government proposes a bill to establish the Attorney General's office as a separate entity outside the Civil Service Commission (CSC). The Attorney General's office bill was introduced to the Parliament by Parliamentarian Abdullah Rifa on behalf of the government. The bill aims to create a distinct government office with defined requirements, responsibilities, and duties for the Attorney General. The bill seeks to establish a legal framework for the office operation, including staff appointments. While the Constitution defines the Attorney General's office as an independent body, it has previously operated under CSC, unlike other independent institutions such as the Prosecutor General's office, which are governed by separate laws. The proposed bill notes that employees of the Attorney General office will be categorized into two groups, the legal service and the administrative service. Their salaries and allowances will be determined by the Ministry of Finance in line with policies set by the National Pay Commission. The bill also includes provisions for employee participation in a health insurance system and eligibility for honorary retirement benefits under the retirement rules. This move follows the separation of the Foreign Ministry from the Civil Service under the Foreign Service Act enacted in 2021. By establishing the Attorney General's office as an independent entity, the government aims to ensure a more specialized and effective legal framework for its operations. The Parliament approves proposed amendments to the Copyright Act aimed at enhancing copyright protection. The bill was approved with the votes of 57 members. The amendment provides greater clarity on the types of works protected by copyright and outlines additional circumstances under which copyrighted materials may be used. Specifically, the revised Act ensures the protection of literary and artistic works, performances, sound recordings, and broadcasts produced in the Maldives. It also establishes that reproducing or distributing original copies of a copyrighted work without the permission of the copyright holder is prohibited, except when the work is used for educational purposes. The amendment further empowers copyright owners by granting them the right to take legal action if their rights are infringed or if there is a reasonable suspicion that infringement is imminent. Copyright holders can now seek protection in a competent court, demand remedies allowed by law, and pursue compensation for any loss they have sustained due to the infringement of their rights. Additionally, the amendment extends the duration of protection for copyrighted works from 50 to 70 years, ensuring longer security for creators and their intellectual property. In cases of infringement, the penalty for violating copyright can range from approximately $650 to $6,450, depending on the severity and nature of the violation. If the infringement is intentional, a criminal penalty of approximately $3,250 to $19,500 may be imposed, depending on the gravity of the violation. This amendment marks a significant step in strengthening the protection of intellectual property in the country, safeguarding the rights of creators, and ensuring that the enforcement of these rights is more robust and comprehensive. Minister of Construction and Infrastructure Dr. Abdullah Muttalib states that the new guidelines for building sustainable houses in the Maldives will have a positive impact on the construction industry. He made this statement during the ceremony where the guidelines were officially launched. The minister emphasized the importance of constructing homes in safe locations, considering the Maldives' unique geography and the challenges posed by climate change. He urged all stakeholders to adhere to the guidelines to ensure safer and more sustainable housing. The CEO of the local government authority, Mohammad Nimal, described the guidelines as a valuable resource and a roadmap for housing construction. With an increasing number of weather-related events and rising construction costs, the World Bank believes the guidelines will provide practical solutions to address these challenges. Developed under the Maldives Urban Development and Resilience Project, the guidelines are based on international best practices informed by extensive research and consultations with stakeholders. The book offers guidance on protecting homes from disasters and climate change, enhancing sustainability, reducing electricity consumption, and using environmentally friendly materials. It is intended for both new home builders and those seeking to improve existing homes. The Ministry of Tourism reveals that the Maldives welcomed more than 172,000 tourists in November this year, marking a 5.7% increase compared to the same period in 2023. This positive trend reflects the government's ongoing efforts to boost the tourism sector, which has shown significant growth throughout the year. The Ministry of Tourism reveals that the Maldives welcomed more than 172,000 tourists in November this year, marking a 5.7% increase compared to the same period in 2023. This positive trend reflects the government's ongoing efforts to boost the tourism sector, which has shown significant growth throughout the year. Statistics indicate that by the end of November, the total number of visitors to the Maldives had reached 1,837,633, with 172,985 tourists arriving in November alone, compared to 163,658 in November of the previous year. With December's tourist arrivals expected to reach 162,367, the government is on track to meet its target of attracting 2 million tourists in 2024. The growth in tourism is evident with more tourists arriving each month. The Ministry of Tourism reported that the Maldives experienced a 9.1% increase in tourist arrivals during the first 11 months of the year compared to the same period in 2023. On average, the Maldives welcomed approximately 5,485 tourists per day this year, highlighting the sector's recovery and continued appeal. Looking ahead, the government has set an ambitious target for 2025 forecasting that 2.2 million tourists will visit the Maldives. This optimism is fueled by the steady growth in tourism numbers and ongoing efforts to enhance the country's tourism infrastructure and offerings. We'll return after a short prayer. Stay tuned.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدًا الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وبعثه مقامًا محمودًا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
PSM ಗೆ ಟಿವಿ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ತಕ ರೇಡಿಯೋ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ತ ಮಿಹಾರು PSM Air ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ತಿಯ ಬೇಫ್ಲುನ್ನ ಹಿಲೆ ಬಲಾಲೆವೇನೆ ಅದಿ ಅಡುವ ಹಾಲೆವೇನೆ ದುನಿಯೆಗೆ ಕೊಮ್ಮೆ ತಾಗು ಹುರೆಗೆನ್ ಕೊಮ್ಮೆ ಗಡಿಯ PSM ಗೆ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ತ ಬಲಾಲುಮ ಅವಹ PSM Air app ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಕುರವ್ವ ಮಿಹಾರು ಆಪ್ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಉನ್ನ ಗೂಗಲ್ ಪ್ಲೇ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ ಮಿ ಆಪ್ ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಕೊಲ್ಲವೇನೆ
ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಅವೀಗಾಣುವತ ಫೆನುಗ ಹೊರಗಿನದಸು ಪುಂಡು ತಿಮಾವೆಟ್ಟೆಗ್ಗಿನವೆ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಹೆದಿ ಆಹಾರಮೆನ್ ಕಂಬಡು ಅಂವಿ ಕೀವೆ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಫುಂಡುವೆಗೆನ್ ದಾಯರು ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಫೆದುಮ ಬೇಣು ಕುರೆಫಾ ವಿಹ ಮಾದ್ದಾತ ತಿಮಾವೆಟ್ಟೆ ದೂವೆ ಮೂದು ಮಸ್ಕ್ಯಾಗೆ ನೋತ ದಂಡುಗೋವಾಂ ಕುರೆವೆ ತರುಕಾರಿಗೆ ಜರಿಯಾಯ್ ಮಿವಿಹ ಮಾದ್ದಾ ಹರ್ಮೆನೆ ಬಕ್ಕೇವೆ ಅದಿ ಮೀಗೆ ಸಬಬು ಇನ್ಸಾನುಂಗೆ ಸಿಹತ ಎತ ನೊರಕ್ಕಾತಕ್ಕೆ ಕುರಿಮತಿವೆ ಮಗುಮಚ್ಚ ಶಾಯ ಮೂದ ಕುಣಿಯಳುವುಂ ಹುಟ್ಟಾದಮ
Once again, welcome to PSM News in English. The State Trading Organization, STO, announces that the Agricultural Economic Zone project to ensure food security in the Maldives, initially planned for Uttaratillafar, has been relocated to Fushidikar. Earlier this year, the Maldives Industrial Development Free Zone Company signed an agreement with China's Harbour Engineering Company Limited to establish an agricultural economic zone aimed at securing food supplies for the Maldives. The project will involve dredging 100 hectares of land to create this zone, with plans for it to begin in early 2026. The agricultural economic zone will include greenhouses for growing vegetables and fruits, as well as a training center and accommodation blocks. In its second phase, the project will feature a specialized poultry farm to produce chicken eggs for the Maldives. The decision to dredge land was made due to the need for a large area, which is seen as the most efficient way to implement the project. STO did not disclose the reasons behind the relocation of the project to Fushidikaro. Volkswagen workers will go on warning strikes on Monday at plants across Germany, labor union IG Metall said, marking the first large-scale walkouts at Volkswagen's domestic operations since 2018. The start of the strikes represents a further escalation of a dispute between Europe's top car maker and its workers over mass layoffs, pay cuts and possible plant closures. Drastic measures the company says it cannot rule out in the face of Chinese competition and cooling consumer demand. Labour representatives at VW had on November 22nd voted for limited strikes at German operations from early December after talks over wages and plant closures failed to achieve a breakthrough. The carmaker said it continues to rely on constructive dialogue to find a sustainable solution. Warning strikes in Germany usually last from a few hours. The union had last week proposed measures it said would save 1.5 billion euros or $1.6 billion, including foregoing bonuses for 2025 and 2026, which Europe's top car maker dismissed. Volkswagen has demanded a 10% wage cut, arguing it needs to slash costs and boost profit to defend market share in the face of cheap competition from China and a drop in European car demand. The company is threatening to close plants in Germany for the first time in its 87-year history. The United Nations Top Court on Monday started hearings on the legal obligation of countries to fight climate change and the consequences for states of contributing to global warming, the outcome of which could influence litigation worldwide. While the court's advisory opinions are not binding, they are legally and politically significant. Experts say the court's eventual opinion on climate change will likely to be cited in climate change-driven lawsuits in courts from Europe to Latin America and beyond. 25-year-old Siosua Weikun, who joined the Pacific Islands students fighting climate change in 2019, said that an advisory opinion approaching the climate crisis via a human rights lens is the ideal outcome. Aside from small island states and numerous Western and developing countries, the court will also hear from the world's top 2 emitters of greenhouse gases, the United States and China. Oil producer group OPEC will also give its views. The hearings will run until December 13. The court's opinion is expected to be delivered in 2025. Fiorentina midfielder Eduardo Bove was taken off the pitch in an ambulance after collapsing shortly after the start of their Serie A match against Inter Milan on Sunday. In a social media post, Fiorentina, in collaboration with Carrega University Hospital, announced that footballer Eduardo Bove was treated on the pitch following a loss of consciousness during the Fiorentina vs Inter match, is currently under sedation and is hospitalized in intensive care. The Viola player arrived at the emergency department in stable hemodynamic conditions, and initial cardiological and neurological tests have ruled out acute damage to the central nervous system and the cardiorespiratory system. Fiorentina added that Bove will be re-evaluated in the next 24 hours. Play was halted at the stadium with the scores 0-0 to review a potential VAR check on a disallowed Lautaro Martinez goal when the 22-year-old suddenly collapsed in the 17th minute. Medical personnel rushed onto the pitch with both sets of players forming a ring around Bove, who arrived at the club on loan from AS Roma in August. After Bove was taken away in an ambulance, the referee asked the players to leave the pitch and return to the dressing room. A Serie A spokesperson said later that the match was suspended and would be postponed to a later date. That's it for now. Thank you for watching. Have a pleasant day ahead. Bye-bye.
දිවහින්ගේ කුලිවරුවින්
අරුන්මennaki directly association ಗೆ ಹಿಂಗುಮ ಹಿಂಗುನ್ ತೆರೆಯ ವನ್ನಾನೆ ಬಯನ್ನು
ವಾಲಿಬಾಲ್